Possibly paranoia, probably primal fear. When I was in high school, I played on the basketball team and ran track. To keep my cardio up, I used to run this 11 kilometers hiking trail that went through the hills right outside of my town. It was a small town, it was safe for the most part and everybody knew each other. I wouldn't call this trail remote, because at certain points you'd pass a dog park, train tracks, and one stretch of it ran alongside the highway. But some parts were pretty deep into the woods. There was an option to do a 4 kilometers loop inside of this 11 kilometers trail, and people traveled this route much more often. I hardly ever ran into anybody on the longer trailer. I ran this same trail for 3 years, and nothing strange ever happened, until this one day. It started off as it normally did. I parked my car on the dirt road that came off of the highway and smoked a joint while queuing songs on my phone. I put my earphones in, popped a piece of gum in my mouth and began walking toward the trail. The only thing I took with me on my runs were my phone, earphones, and a single car key wrapped around my index finger. I don't recall seeing anybody on the trail that day. It was in the afternoon and it wasn't abnormal for the trail to be less busy than it would have been during the evening. I walked for a few minutes while I was still on the crushed stone path. Once you got a little ways into the trail it turned pretty rugged. Dirt and mud with large tree roots reaching across it in all directions. I liked this trail because I had to focus on where my feet were landing with every step, so I was less focused on how much energy I was exerting. I was about halfway through the 11 kilometers loop, and this was really the most remote part of it. It was all forest, and there were a lot of hills and dips in the path, and big boulders all around you. I didn't see or hear anything odd, but out of nowhere, I had this extreme sense of dread come over me. I kept running, didn't really react. Once I reached a more flat part of the trail just a few feet ahead, I took my earphones out while keeping the same running pace. I noticed it was eerily silent, but I didn't experience a moment where I acknowledged that meant there's likely some sort of predator in the area. The only predators that would have been around me for wildlife would be a coyote, maybe a bear, but this would be very unlikely as there are never bear sightings anywhere near the town. I slowed my jog to a walk because the trail got steep and I had to walk over knee-high rocks, but I was still moving fast because I felt like something was behind me. For some reason, this next part is very hard to remember. Just this slice of about 30 seconds feels almost like I'm trying to recall a dream that I had, but I saw something out in the trees. When I try to remember, I can't fully picture it, almost like looking at a blurry image. It wasn't an animal, it was a person. I can't explain it, but I could clearly sense that it was a male. I pretended not to see the figure in the trees. I remember doing this so they wouldn't know that I was aware of them. It felt subconscious, automatic and 100% instinctive. The figure wasn't behind me in the way that it felt when I first sensed a presence. It was in front of me, but on the side, my 2 o'clock to be exact. It didn't move as I walked by, the person just stood there completely still and watched me pass. Once I got up around the turn, probably 15 feet ahead, I ran so fucking fast it was like my feet were going to detach from my body. I remember how weak my knees felt in this sprint, but adrenaline was carrying me out of there at a speed that was faster than I've ever moved in my life. I didn't hear footsteps, but it felt like they were right behind me. As if I would feel 2 hands reach out and grab me at any moment. Primal fear. I didn't stop running until I was out of the trees and could see my car. This may feel anticlimactic, but nothing happened and when I looked back after leaving the trees, there was nobody there. My adrenaline was flooding the entire time, but the deep sense of dread left a couple of minutes after it arrived. I just knew I couldn't stop running until I was out. I think somebody was coming after me, because they saw a 5-foot, young girl with long blonde hair running alone in the woods. Maybe they were waiting for somebody to pass by, but I have a gut feeling that they were out there for some other reason, and I happened to walk by at the wrong time.